Howdy again, it's Mr. Pete, your interweb shop teacher. Welcome to beautiful Studio B. Howdy again, it's Mr. Pete, and this is another episode of This and That. I haven't done one in many months. I have a lot of items to show you here and things to talk about. And you know, I'm a man that wears two hats, yes. Sometimes a Starrett cap, and thanks to Sean McDonald, a Brown and Sharp cap. Now this is like a corduroy cap, so it's a little bit heavier weight, and it's really a winter cap, I think, compared to the Starrett cap. So thank you, Sean. Let's take a look at a few other things here. I almost forgot to say that this is a new old stock cap from the 80s, while Brown and Sharp was still in business, and I guess it is to some extent, but not really the way we knew it. Today is September 25th, 2023, and it's 2 days after Arnfest 2023. I was up there, sold a few things, and bought, I didn't buy much, thank goodness, but had a good time. Got to talk to a bunch of people up there and meet some new people. Thank you for everybody that stopped by my table. Now, this is AC. After COVID, so I'm pretty well healed up now. I think I'm back to normal as an 80-year-old can be. And speaking of that, thank you very much for the outpouring of well wishes and get well cards and gifts and birthday presents. None of that was necessary, but you know, some people are still celebrating my 80th birthday, and that's 2 months ago already. So I got a few gifts that I will show you here, as well as new acquisitions. So why don't we start with this? When I was at the flea market at the Thresherman's Fair, there was a dealer there that I talked to quite a while. He wishes to remain anonymous, but thank you to him for this. But I picked up this level. I thought it was a Starrett. Well, it turned out it wasn't a Starrett. It is a P&W, which I believe is Pratt & Whitney, and that's the only mark on it. And he says, you can have that. Well, this vial is cracked and broken. You can see the crack there. This vial is fine, so it's not usable as is. It could be repaired, I suppose. I don't know where you'd get a vial other than if maybe a Starrett would fit in there, but you know, it's a nice tool, a little rusty. Too bad that it is cracked. Well, I think most of you know that I am selling. In fact, this hardened speed lathe is sold. It hasn't been picked up yet, so I'm starting to disassemble it. But and it just grieves me to sell this because it's in such perfect shape. But the funny thing is, I got a comment just the other day in one of my videos, and it was from a man who said he had worked for Hardinge in sales for many years, and he really appreciated the many compliments that I give to Hardinge Brothers about, well, really any products that they make, and that's the original paperwork from this little lathe. So this will go to a lucky man in Arkansas. You know, my videos would not be the same without at least one postal rant. So these two packages, they're separate, came a couple weeks ago. This one, and I don't even blame it on the post office. This stuff apparently was so poorly packed that it ended up being taken out of its original container, whatever that may be, and rewrapped by the post office. So, in another bag. So, you know, please pack things better than that. And here's another one, and it only came 100 miles, and the box was bent over and it was split open. On either one of these, I wasn't sure if things are missing or if everything was there. But, you know, this cardboard box here almost appears to be made out of a wet cereal box. Okay, I'm always interested in these old catalogs, and I've received several that are of interest here. So this Lufkin catalog came from Keith Williams, And what's a little different about this was after their glory days of when they made precision tools, because this entire catalog is strictly tapes and rules. But I've never seen this catalog. It appears to be, it's undated, appears to be from probably the 70s. And this also is from Keith Williams, and it's brand new, old stock, in the box, section 2 of a treatise on milling and milling machines by Cincinnati. You may have, and I can't find it, I looked all around the shop for the original blue treatise on milling machines from Cincinnati, but in this box, and I don't think it had been opened before, because here's even a little introduction. Here's your copy of section 2. So thank you, Keith, for this stuff. And when you get into this Cincinnati, it's kind of technical. It's really engineering. But it'll be fun to look through this if I can figure it out. Better get that off. George Reich sent this to me, and he's from Tennessee, and thank you, George, and everyone else that is sending me things. But this is a 1936 Craftsman Power Tool Catalog by Sears, and it's about 1/4 inch thick. Now, there are no metalworking lathes in here. It's primarily, and I would say even exclusively, woodworking. So we got jigsaws and table saws. Jigsaws were really popular, $22.50. That's probably like $900 now. We got some band saws, drill presses. They had their companion line back then too, which was cheaper than the Craftsman. Only 13 bucks for a drill press. But here's the Craftsman. You're going to have to pay $10 more if you want that. $29. Well, there's some grinders and jointers, lathes. Oh, I take it back. There is a metal lathe. 12-inch screw cutting lathe. I'll take some close-ups of that and put them at the end of the video. And grinders, electric motors. Oh, they're using the Kenmore name here. And I think electric drills were just becoming popular, but these weren't affordable. $29, I mean, that would be equal to $300, I think, now. And they got bases and blades, so very interesting looking at these old catalogs. There it is, a 12-inch lathe for $63 without the motor, I believe. That would be, what, $1,500 nowadays, I suppose? Put it in the comments. Thank you to Randall Shoquist for sending this to me, and this will be shown in another video. But this is actually a Shear Tomiko catalog from 1982, during the time that it was owned by an outfit in Britain called Rank Precision Industries. And it covers pretty much their entire product line, rules, micrometers, and other precision tools. As I said, I just got back from Arnfest, and Nick Pellegrini gave me this Starrett catalog. It appears to be from the 30s. I can't find a date on it, but that'll be good for reference. And then also someone gave me a newer Starrett catalog. I don't know what year that is, but it's probably from the 90s, I would think. Thank you. I often talk about my friend Gary Biacchini, and he is the clockmaker, watchmaker, and I've been in his shop. There's a tour of his shop. But he's also a volunteer at the West Clocks Museum in Peru, Illinois. And for a birthday present, he gives me this beautiful, I'm going to call it a blueprint, but I'm not sure exactly what you would call it. But it's from the 20s. General Time, West Clocks, Peru, Illinois. And there are the buildings. And you really can't get an idea of how large this really is, because over these buildings here, you can see them from Water Street. They're about 4 or 5 stories high. Now, in the detail here, it explains the different divisions and so on. But this is the office building where my wife worked, and this is Route 6, still is for that matter. And there is a tunnel crossing. I don't know if that's going to show up or not, but I often talk about that tunnel. And now there is a pizza place right inside here. And I went and had a pizza, and you can see the old archway of the tunnel, but it's blocked off. But it went under the street so that office workers that worked over here in engineering and all of that could get into the plant without getting cold or wet or whatever was happening outdoors. But thank you, Gary, for this wonderful picture. And I had it framed, and I have it in my office. Now also, I'm going to show you a clip right now of when I was at Gary's house in, I believe, June. A tiny little lathe holder. I think the whole thing is only about 1 inch long, and I'm holding it in the palm of my hand. So here it is. Thank you to Bob Patton, who's always sending me things, but he sent me this brand new A.O. Smith motor here, 1/4 horse, for my next project. Also, thanks to Bob, who sends me bags full of, I'm going to call them novelties and little things and so on for my grandkids and just things to play with. So thank you for thinking of me, Bob. And now I'm going to cut to a picture and a short video of the Railroad Museum, where I'm looking at a real old shaper. I don't think there's any sound to that, but then also a still picture of me riding one like a mare. Lynn and Pam Powell thought that I don't have enough tools, so they sent me this little tool set, I think as a joke, for my birthday. Kind of cute. But the drill, cordless, and everything right there in one little kit. Thank you. Well, I'm sitting at my computer right now, and this little hit-and-miss engine model was sent to me recently as a birthday present by one Mr. Troy Legner. Thank you, Troy, and your wife, for sending this. He knows I like hit-and-miss engines. In fact, he has purchased one himself not too long ago, but you remember Troy. I talk about him all the time, and he just sent me this picture, one of my favorite students, and he recently purchased this Mitutoyo caliper, and actually it's a wall clock. That is so awesome, and he's holding a regular one in his other hand there, but I'd love to have that. He said that those were made available to dealers for Mitutoyo products if they had sold $1 million worth or some very large amount. So that's my screensaver on my computer now. But I think that is one awesome clock. Although it would take up the entire wall, wouldn't it? You know, a couple months ago I made what I thought was really a neat video up near northern Illinois, where they were tearing down windmills. Now, we get right away into an argument as they're not windmills, they're wind turbines. Now, I don't know where they get the name turbine. It's not a turbine anymore in the Man on the Moon, unless they are calling the entire blade assembly and generator and everything the turbine. I don't know. But, you know, people are so argumentative, and they get so sidetracked. But this, for that matter, is not a windmill. This is a wind pump. And you know what a grist mill is, like they had over in Holland and other places like that. They could be water or wind driven, and grist mill was meant literally to mill or grind flour into, or wheat into flour. So anyway, that's discouraging, because, and it became political. You know, people expounding their views on whether they are helping the environment or hurting, you know, which we don't know really, because you can't get the evidence. But I showed some amazing footage, and that's really what that video was about, where they had cut those things off and blown them up, and I was showing the thickness of the steel and how the charges cut through it, and then how this thing fell on the ground, and I even went into the, you know, the generator part and showed all that. Not one mention of that by anyone. How really neat that was, and that was the essence of it. So I know I'm on a little bit of a rant now. I was so disappointed in that, and the politics of it, and how angry some people are. They're just angry or bitter if you disagree with them or their politics. So guess we'll let that go. And my buddy sent me even some more pictures of that, the way these fell down, you know, and were buried in the ground. But yeah, I'm not going to bother showing that because nobody liked it. So I guess I got to stay away from the field trips. All right, enough on wind turbines. And now let's take a break and hear a word from our sponsor. Just kidding, I don't do that. But it seems like just about everybody else is advertising. The closest I come to that is when I show the Beaver stuff, but that's always in the title, so don't look at that if you don't like it. But, you know, I don't get paid for that. And I don't have Patreon. I object to Patreon because it's begging. And also, what I don't like about it, some people have two sets of videos. You know, they have, you can watch these videos, but I don't really like you. But if you pay extra money, I love you. And then you can watch this content as well. So I object to that. It's like supermarkets that have, you give you a discount if you got their stupid little card where they can track you. So I don't like that at all. But then again, there's a lot that I don't like. And there's a lot that you don't like. Admit it. But what I was going to say is that I do get offers to advertise things that are really not related to machine shop. For instance, I very recently got an offer from a big tennis shoe company, and it's, I won't tell you the name, but can you say Chuck's? But anyway, they said they offered me $1,500 if I would run an ad. And then they said, just click here and we will give you the terms and conditions and something to sign. Well, I'm not going to sign that. Now, if they had given me 3 pairs of tennis shoes in my size, you know, I would have shown them to you and thanked you and worn them. But, you know, I'm not, I shouldn't say I'll never do that because there's money in it. You know, so I'm just turning down $1,500 so that you don't have to listen to that kind of ad on. And do you appreciate that, or should I go ahead and make some money while I'm at it? Put it in the comments. And as you know, I'm selling a lot of things. There will be more Pete Bays sooner or later, and probably at least one more Pete Bay on steroids where I sell some of the heavier stuff. And people are coming from all over. A man's coming a 14-hour drive to pick up that saw, wherever that is from. But what I wanted to say now to conclude this video is that I know I kind of dwell on talking about passing away and pushing up daisies and stuff like that. But I want to ask every one of you for a little help right now. On my tombstone, even though I fully intend to be cremated, and maybe there'll be a tombstone, I may have an epitaph ground into the granite or bronze or whatever it is. You know what an epitaph is? It's just a short, pithy statement about the deceased. So what would be some good epitaphs for me? For instance, he was a good old shop teacher. You know, that would be an epitaph. So give me some that are funny, not dirty, and maybe we'll have a little fun with that in a later video. And one last thing I wanted to say, and I'm going to show you a picture right now at the end of me just yesterday, 2 days ago, with Keith Rucker at Arnfest. And so I had a chance to spend quite a bit of time with him, probably more than I ever had, and we had a nice talk. But you know what I said as he was leaving? I said, you know, Keith, I'm going to chew you out a little bit. He said, why? What did I do? I said, nothing other than your website, vintagemachinery.com.org, is so great. And you hardly ever mention anything about it. But maybe all of you know what that is. And it's just a tremendous resource with thousands of catalogs and parts lists and information, historical information on metalworking and woodworking for that matter as well. So since Keith won't tell you how great that site is, I'm going to do it. Although he does always wear his apron or whatever that has that logo on it. So if you need any information about older machines, or be sure and go to vintagemachinery.org. And if you have anything like this to donate to him, send it on down and they'll get it scanned and put into the archive there, which is a wonderful thing. So thank you for doing that, Keith, because I know it's a lot of work. I know you got help, but and it was wonderful visiting with you. And so there'll be some pictures here at the end. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Leave a comment. I won't answer all the comments. Sometimes there's just too many. See you next time. And now a word from our sponsor. Just kidding.